So I was asked today about letter spacing, word spacing, line compression, what all the numbers mean, and how it impacts your drawing, etc. So I thought I'd do a quick video on that. There are three different ways effectively that you can adjust the line spacing or the word line length. I'm going to do all of it visually to start off with, and then hopefully you can then see what the outputs are, and then we'll look at the text tool to see how that's displayed. So the first thing is by just using the pick tool, so the pick tool in the top corner there. I'm just going to select this bottom line, and it's a bit too close to the edge of the memorial, so I'm just going to shrink it in. Now I can either shrink it from one side, or if I press the shift key whilst I'm actually shrinking something, you can see that it comes in from both sides at the same time. So if I just set this to something that looks a little bit more reasonable, and that might be a sensible width for the headline. Obviously that's reduced the thickness of the lettering as well as reducing the overall width. So let's have a look at other ways that we can do that. So instead of using the pick tool, I'm going to use the shape tool, and I'll get two different controls. There's one on this side which is to do with lines, which we don't use, and one on this side which is to do with letters and words spacings, which we do use. So we can just pick this up, and it will reduce the letter spacing and the word spacing in equal proportions until such time as the line length is approximately right for us. And as you can now see, each individual letter, each individual letter has changed, has not changed shape. It's exactly the same shape as it was before. The weight of the bar, the vertical bar on this Y is exactly the same as it used to be, which is slightly wider than it is on this one here. So the letters have all changed, unchanged in shape. But if you look in the points here, you can see that now the V is more or less touching the I and the N here are very close together, which may not be actually what we're looking for. So what are the other ways that we can do this? Well, if I select this line and do the same again, and I'll bring it down to the point when my letters are getting as close as I would like them to be. So I'm looking at the gap between the V and the I here, and I think that's about as close as I want to get those letters together at this point in time. I've still got space to go. I've still got work to do to bring it into a length that I'm happy with, though. So what I'm going to do is I'm now going to use the Shift and Alt button to adjust just the space between the words and squeeze it on the word spacing. So if I again press and hold, and instead of pressing the just leaving, not pressing any buttons, if I press the Alt button, you can see that it's now just changing the gap between the letters, so the gap between the word is staying exactly the same. If I press the Shift key, then the opposite happens, and now it's just the spacing between the words which is being reduced. And so if my computer can catch up with me, I can just drag so that my line length is the same, and I've now just squeezed the gap on the words, so I don't have any touching letters, but I've still got four clearly defined words: in, loving, memory, and of. You can clearly see the spacings. So you can see here that we've got, in this instance, exactly the same weight letters, no difference at all, but too tight on the gaps. In this one I think it's probably about right, and this one at the moment is a bit too close to the edge, which is why we were doing the exercise in the first place. So if we look at the text tool, and I just see what's happened inside the text tool, you'll notice there's a few extra features in here. This is because I'm currently testing your latest version of the software, which will be coming out in February 2022. So I can see here the actual line lengths, and I can see that my the line length that I can press just the line compression here, 93%, is 449, and I've got 451 and 452 millimeters for the other two. And you can see here that the letter spacing and word spacing is uniform. That's because I didn't use the Shift key. And on this one, my letter spacing and my word spacing are different, and my letter spacing has been reduced to 93% and my word spacing 61. Generally speaking, I tend to say letter spacing Maximum you can go to is about 90%. Anything more than that and you start getting touching letters, which is what we saw when we went to 87% here. I generally try to keep that in somewhere in the regions of 90, 93, 95, 97, something like that. I don't try and do too much with the letter spacing. Word spacing you can actually go quite a long way with. You can bring this down to sort of 50 and it doesn't start compressing the line too much. It doesn't look like the words are all running into one. With the actual line compression, I really don't like going down much below 98, 99%, maybe as much as 97. But once you get down to those sorts of numbers beyond 97, you can start seeing the difference. And as you can see here, the weight on the I here in particular is very noticeably thinner. If you had two lines, In Loving Memory Of and Fred Blogs, you would notice that In Loving Memory Of has been squished and Fred Blogs hadn't. So I generally tend to avoid going down. But certainly 97 is as far as I'd want to go at that point, otherwise you start to notice it. So that's a little bit about the line spacing or line compression, letter spacing, word spacing. And you can edit these in here and press apply. And if I move my screen down, you can see what's happening in real time, as well as actually what the line lengths are doing as well.